Cool stuff, guys. I hope the last video wasn't too boring for you guys. So far, though, we've only really written basic data types to Firebase, right? I think we did like strings and booleans and numbers, and that's the easy stuff. But I want to cover some of the more complex examples that you might come across in your app, and we obviously don't want to get stuck when we have to try to figure out some of this more complex stuff. So in this video, we're going to read and write to Firebase Firestore again, but this time we're going to look at reading and writing to arrays and maps. So arrays being, you guys know what an array is. So in this video, we're going to focus on some of those more complex types, specifically arrays and maps. So arrays being, an array of strings or numbers or something like that. One of the problems when we're dealing with data like arrays is that one of the problems that we have when we're dealing with a remote server and data like an array is that you might have multiple like devices updating the remote array at the same time. And so Firebase actually gives us special functions so that instead of us having to copy the whole array, append an item, and then send that to Firebase, instead we can just send the new value to Firebase and say, hey, append this new item to whatever is already in the database. And it's super cool and kind of easy. We're going to check it out now. The other thing we're going to look at is maps. Maps are basically like if you had a data type that conforms to codable, but you had another child type inside your parent type, and you wanted to actually write that whole thing as well inside the same document, you would do it using a map. And so that's what we're going to look at towards the end of this video.
All right, welcome back everyone. Hope you guys are as excited as I am. We are really in the trenches here of Firestore. We set up our user profile in the last couple of videos. In the last one, we looked at encoding and decoding a user object. But we used simple data, and Firebase has much more than just booleans and strings. So let's jump in here, and I hope you guys are still with me. This is an intermediate course, but this is definitely a difficult intermediate course because there's so much to cover here. So I hope it does make sense. I'm trying to keep it simple. There's just literally so much to cover. Let's think about this here. So we're going to create in our profile. First, let's work with arrays because we haven't done arrays yet. So we're going to have an array of maybe user preferences, maybe. So in like a dating app, you have like things that the user might like, right? Sports, movies, philosophy, I don't know, books, and that we might want to store as an array. So it's just like the user likes movies. We don't need a whole document for that. We don't need a unique ID for that. We just have the string and store it as a string. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Let's go firstly to our user profile and set this up. So profile view. Let's get the canvas working so that we can see what we're doing real quick. All right, guys, it is officially midnight on Saturday night or Sunday morning, actually. And we're in here writing code because the grind don't stop. And I know a lot of you guys are out there are probably doing the same. It's either probably early morning or late night for you. So shout out to yourself if you're here and you're listening to this. As you guys know, developers create the world, and that's what we're creating here. So give yourself a pat on the back. It's extremely hard to write good code and scalable apps. And the fact that you're learning this is it's really important. The future is going to be very software heavy. This is all real good knowledge to have, I think at least. Or maybe I'm just losing my mind because it's late and I made so many videos today. I don't know. You guys tell me, leave me a comment, or actually join our Discord channel and tell me directly because the Discord channel is starting to blow up. I'm trying to be more active there. Really like interacting with you guys directly. It's a little more personal than the YouTube comments. The YouTube comments do help get some views. So do both. Why not? All right. Enough of me talking. Nick, come on, let's get coding. All right. The user profile here, I cannot see because my app is not authenticated, because my user is not authenticated in here. So what are we going to do for that? So let's see if we can maybe just start with the, let's start with the root view in our, can we do that? Sign in anonymously on the simulator. Awesome. All right, cool. That works. It's a little hack. In a real app, we should use dependency injection. We should set up mocks for our previews. I'll do that in a future course, more difficult course. All right. Below this, let's create a H stack. All right, let's create a couple buttons here real quick. Let's create a button with a title and action. This one will say sports. And let's give it maybe a button style of maybe, what does the automatic look like? Nothing ordered. That looks like something. Ordered prominent. Yeah, I like that one better. All right, and let's give it maybe a font of headline. It's a little thicker. Good enough for now, right, guys? All right, let's copy. Let's paste. Let's paste. We're going to do sports. We're going to do maybe, I don't know, movies and books. Things that the user likes, right? And then let's see. So we'll put this H stack inside a V stack. And then down here, we're just going to add text that says user preferences. And we're just going to put in some data. So we don't have the data yet. So let's just put in hard code books, movies for now. All right, let's give this maybe a frame with a max width infinity. All right, and alignment of leading. Cool, we got the user preferences here. All right, let's see what we want to do. All right, when we click these, we want to add to an array on the user profile that object, okay? So inside the user profile, the database user, we're going to have let's call this maybe a preference. Now, when we add values to our database user, we need to update all of that logic in our user. So preferences is going to be an array of string, make it optional. And so here, if we created from the auth, we'll set self.preferences to equal to nil. Here, let's add preferences of type array of string. Optionally equal it to nil. Self.preferences equal to preferences. And we need to add it to our coding as to our decoder and encoder as well. So here we'll have preferences of type raw value. We'll just have preferences. And self.preferences equals decode if present, an array of string for preferences. Same thing down here. We want to encode self.preferences for key preferences. Now that I think about this, preferences is probably a bad title because preferences could be like the user defaults, but whatever, we'll just use preferences for this use case. What we're going to do is create another function called add user preference. We're going to pass in a user ID so we know what document to go to, as well as the preference, which will be a string. This will be asynchronous and throws, and I'm going to copy this function here, paste it here, except this time we're going to access the preferences.raw value and pass in preference. All right. The reason why we're doing this though is because we want to work with arrays and not just strings. So we're going to make this an array of and pass in the string. Let's jump back to our profile view. Let's create a function in our view model called func add user preference. Func add user preference. Let's do a guard let user else return. And just like we did up here, let's paste this here. And we're going to say maybe add user preference. with the user.user ID. And the preference, we're going to pass in here text of type string. All right, so here in the sports button, we'll call view model dot add user preference, pass in sports. Yeah, I know we're typing this twice, not great coding, but it's good enough for now. This will be movies and one more for books. All right, let's run this. I'm gonna close out of the canvas because we're not really going to use it. Let's get the simulator going. All right, and actually, we want to change these user preferences to be whatever is actually in the array that is in our user object, right? So here, let's make this the, what is it? User dot preferences, otherwise a blank array. And let's wrap that in parentheses and then convert that array to a string by saying all of the objects, let's make them join with a separator of comma space. So we'll join them all together, one single string. Let's run the app one more time. Here we go. And no preferences right now. Let's add sports. And we got sports. We can see it's an array in our database of sports. Let's add movies. And we can see it's an array, but it looks like sports is now gone, right? So we can't just overwrite this array. We want to actually append to the array. And so with Firebase, we need to write some custom code because it's an array. We don't want to just replace the array. Now we could have code to say every time we add a preference, we could get all of the current preferences, penned to the local array, and then send an array with 2 values to the database. That would work. But what's even better is what Firebase allows us to do is actually, instead of this array here, instead of just adding an array here, we're going to access the field value. The field value, meaning the value in the field, the value at the database right now. And we're going to call .array union. So the current value in the field, and we're going to union, meaning join this array that we're going to pass in with the array that's at the field. So we're just going to now pass in an array with the new preference. And let's run our code one more time. Let's add movies, let's add sports. And now we can see that they're all adding to the same array. And so they're literally adding on top of each other, which is awesome. All right, let's also remove from an array. So let's update our view real quick. So let's say if we should make an array, we should make a local array of all of these options because now we're using it multiple times. So let's here create an at state private. Let's up here say let options of type array of string. It's called actually preference options. And let's set it equal to, sports. What is it? Movies. And I think we did books. And then down here, let's do in the H stack, let's just do for each of preference options. And this will be for each string. And we're going to add in this button here. And we'll pass in the string here. We'll pass in the string here. And we're going to delete all of this, clean up our code a little. Preference options is not conform to identifiable, but it does conform to hashable because strings are hashable. So let's use the hash ID by referencing the /self, the hash value of the string. All right, and then very simply, let's add a .tint here, and we're going to say if the view model .user .preferences .contains the string. So if the string is included in the user's preferences, let's make the tint .green. We'll say color .green. Or actually, this is optional, so we need the double equal sign is equal to true. Let's set it to green. Otherwise, we'll set it to red. So it's green if it is included in the user preferences. All right. And so now let's actually create a function for this, or a variable, so that we can access it easily. So up here, let's just say private func preference is selected, pass in a text of type string, return us a bool value, paste this in, and then here we'll say preference is selected with the string. And here we're also going to say if preference is selected. So if it's already selected, we want to unselect it. Otherwise, if it's not selected, we want to add user preference. So up here, we're going to create another function to remove user preference. And then we need to update our Firebase code as well. So this is actually like the same thing, except we add remove and a field value dot array remove. So that's simple. We're going to update the document the same way, same key, and we're just going to say here, remove user preference. All right. We're going to pass in the text and view model dot remove user preference string. Let's run this real quick. Hopefully we have mastered arrays in Firestore. All right, looks like they're all green because they're all included right now. So let's now remove one. We can remove another. And it looks like this is working literally in real time, which is so cool. All right, guys, that was awesome. We got arrays down. And if we look at the field here, there's pretty much one more type. So strings are simple. We did that. Numbers, Booleans, arrays, nil, timestamp is just the date, and geopoint, longitude, latitude, we're not going to deal with right now. But we have not touched on maps. What is a map? Map is basically like a custom object within this document, right? So the same way that we have the database user, which is this whole document, we also can have child, basically data models inside this document. And sometimes that is a very efficient way for pushing and pulling data, because when you download this document, you can also download all of the data in the document, including maybe child models. So if it's not enough data to create a child collection or a separate collection, sometimes you want to include the data model inside this user. So let's do a quick example before we wrap up this video. So let's pretend like we have an app with movies, right? And maybe the user gets to have a single favorite movie. And maybe we want to store that movie inside the user profile, right? Maybe it's just one movie. We don't want to create a whole collection for it. So we just want to take one movie and put it in the user profile. Now, if it was a simple piece of data, we could just store it as a string or maybe an ID for the movie. But here we want to actually store the whole movie so that this way, when we download the user, we can also get all of that movie data in one fetch. Maybe that's the way that we're optimizing our fetch requests in our app. So this movie will have a title of type string and maybe, I don't know, maybe it's popular of type bool, right? So the question becomes, how do we get this movie inside the user object, right? So we'll say, let's call it favorite movie of type movie, and we'll make it optional like we do with everything else. And here we'll set self.favorite movie equal to nil. And here we'll set favorite movie of type movie equal to nil. And then self.favorite movie equal to favorite movie. And then we need to update some custom coding keys. So just like we did before, we're going to have favorite movie, and let's give it a favorite movie. Lowercase snake case is my recommendation. Self.favorite movie equals favorite movie dot self. And we'll use the coding key favorite movie. And then down here as well, self.favorite movie equals coding key favorite movie. All right, that's the first step. And now the problem is we are trying to encode and decode, but the compiler has no idea how to encode or decode a movie, because the user object conforms to codable, but the movie object does not, right? But since we're decoding a movie, we actually just want to make the movie codable. So we'll just conform to codable here. So now the decoder for our user object knows how to decode the movie object as well. Oh, so this should actually be a movie.self. Sorry. All right, so now it knows how to decode a movie. So it's going to not only decode the user, but also decode the movie within the user in one big swoop, which is awesome. All right, so let's set this up now. Let's go back to our profile view. Let's open up the canvas real quick. And let's keep this super simple just because I don't really care about the UI. Obviously, let's create a button with a title, not that completion. Why does it give me that completion? All right, I guess we can do that. Fine. All right, button. And it's going to say favorite movie. And let's just pass in the user.favoritemovie.title, otherwise blank string. We don't need this here. All right, favorite movie is nothing. And let's just create a func, add favorite movie, and let's just say let movie equals movie. ID, let's just give it 1 for now. Title, let's say, I don't know, what's a good movie, guys? Avatar? I haven't seen Avatar 2 yet. It recently came out. Maybe it's good. Definitely popular. And then let's upload this to our user. So in our user manager, we need 2 more functions and say add favorite movie. Let's pass in a movie of type movie. And we're going to set the coding keys that remove favorite movie equal to the movie. And then here we're going to set remove favorite movie. And here we should, I think, actually make this optional because this is nil. And explicitly coerced string of any to any hash. I think that's all we need to do. I think that works because nil is still any. I think we're going to find out. Our app might crash right now. I'm not sure. Let's find out. Add favorite movie. We're going to call add favorite movie. User ID is going to be user.user_ID. Movie will be movie. Let's also do remove favorite movie. And we're just going to call remove favorite movie user.user_ID. Looks like we need to remove the preference. Looks like we need to remove the preference from this function. And I think we actually might crash. I don't know what's going to happen here. I didn't prepare this. Let's see. Add favorite movie. Let's add a comma here. Remove favorite movie. And let's update our UI so that if user.favorite movie is equal to nil, then we will call viewModel.add favorite movie. We'll say else viewModel.remove favorite movie. All right, let's run our app on the simulator. Let's see if this works. I have no idea. I'm going to guess it works. If not, we might need to edit some code. Most of the time when I create these videos, I do it all beforehand. And that's why there's not many bugs in these videos. But I did not do this one map part because I wasn't going to cover it. And then I wanted to cover it. Now we're here. Let's see. All right. Favorite movie. If I click this, it hopefully adds a movie, and it looks like it did not. Oh, we crashed our app. All right. Good job, guys. Unsupported type, favorite movie. So it looks like we need to change the type that we're uploading in our function. So let's go to our user manager. All right. And I think we're going to need to get back our encoder and our decoder. So let's come up here. We have our encoder and our decoder from earlier in the course. And if you don't have it, this is what it looks like. It's a Firestore encoder. And then we just added a key encoding strategy, which we actually no longer need because we are using our own coding keys. And so we could actually just write this in the line of code as we do it. We could just write it in this function, but let's just do it here. Let's say guard let data equals movie equals, let's say try encoder.encode the movie. Else we can't get the data. Let's throw a URL error, bad URL. And so this is data. So let's actually make this dictionary. Let's upload the dictionary. All right. And so now we got the dictionary, and I think this will work. Let's run it one more time. I did look at the Firebase documentation. I think they're trying to make this built into the SDK, but I don't think it is just yet. So let's check this again. Let's try to upload this. Avatar 2. Awesome. So we uploaded it and we downloaded it, and that was awesome. Let's check it out in our favorite movie. So you can see that this is now a map, right? It literally looks like a JSON object, and it opens up here and it has these values. So it's like a data model inside a document, basically, is what a map is. And sometimes this is the most efficient way for saving a model inside your app. If you didn't have this, we would have to create all of these separate fields and then put that together ourselves. But now we can do it with a map, nice and easy. Let's see if we can remove it as well. Set it to null. Awesome. Now you guys know how to read and write arrays as well as maps in user documents. Cool. We're getting into some of the actual good stuff now. This is actually pretty good. There's definitely use cases to use all of these in your app, and this is awesome. All right. I think we're ready to start moving forward to some more even advanced stuff than this. In the next video, we're going to create another collection alongside our users collection. And then we're going to start working with larger pieces of data rather than just one document. All right. Hope you guys are as excited as I am, because I am ready to go. I'm going to go grab a coffee and see you guys in the next video. So hopefully you join me. Leave a comment if you enjoyed this and hit that like button if you liked this, and join our Discord if you're cool. All right. Thanks. See you guys in the next video.